Come in. Hello. Oh, pardon all these boxes. There's a whole bookshelf missing there. We're really beginning to get things done. Anyway, come and have a seat. I'm taking a little break from these things. I've got out this nice. It's another one in the Sherlock Holmes series. It's got the most beautiful grain. I love it. It's the Lestrade, but this is particularly nice for me to have because I had one just like this, and I used to take it with me on my travels because it was a favourite pipe. Hang on, see. And one time I was giving some talks at a college in Santa Fe, which is just the most beautiful place. It's in New Mexico, and it's high up in the sort of uplands, and there's the Sangre de Cristo Mountains, and these great thunderstorms, these electrical storms that sort of gather over the mountains, come sweeping through and deluge it occasionally. And we were making our way back to the accommodation from the lecture place when one of these thunderstorms came over, and I had a coat, a sort of anorak, which happened to have my trusty Lestrade in the pocket. And it was the night before, it was the last day we'd finished the lectures more or less. I was flying out the next day. Anyway, this deluge came, and there was a girl beside me who had hardly anything. It was real pelting hard rain, and she didn't have any protection at all. So really, without thinking, I took my anorak off and gave it to her. I said, well, you must have this, And we all ran helter-skelter, got back to the accommodation. And in all the kerfuffle and bustle of the next day and getting ready to go, I never found the girl or got back the coat. And then later, when I was sort of going about my bits and bobs and thinking I'll have a smoke, I couldn't find my pipe. Well, this time I was back in England. And I thought, oh golly, I've lost that pipe, and it was ages before I could get another one. But eventually I did, and I hope she or her boyfriend, or perhaps both of them, having found the pipe, are enjoying it. So makes me think of my sort of Walter Raleigh moment, this pipe. Anyway, it's neither here nor there. Last time I was sharing with you my pleasure in rediscovering Puck of Pook's Hill. And I mentioned there was a couple of poems to go with each story. And I read you one of them, the lovely See You Yon Dimpled Track that goes with the first one, Puck's Song. And I mentioned Oak and Ash and Thorn, but I didn't read you the second poem. And the second poem, which is the Song of the Trees, the tree song about Oak and Ash and Thorn, is so good. And actually various folk groups have taken it up and sung it in all kinds of ways. I thought I'd read you that, but I thought I'd give you a bit of context. Also, just you might like to see, there are really nice illustrations with this book. So there's Dan and Una who've been playing. You can see Dan's still got the bottom's ass's ears on, and they've got their little picnic in the sort of ring that they've been playing in. They saw a small brown pointy-eared person step quietly into the ring. And there's Puck, who's much the same size as the children. And I mentioned that he was going to open this magic, these kind of portals of the past, and give them seizing. I thought you might wonder what seizing was. It's the old thing, where you conveyed land, and there's a rather beautiful description of it. So I thought I'd read you that and the final poem. So let's just get this thing fired up a bit better. So Puck's just met them, and they start reciting the old 17th century poem, Farewell, Rewards and Fairies, which was about the departure of the fairy from England over the course of the Reformation, and it talks about the rings, the fairy rings, and it has a lovely line. They start quoting it: "Witness those rings and roundelays," and Puck joins in with them and knows the poem. "Witness those rings and roundelays, do you mean?" boomed Puck with a voice like a great church organ. "Witness those rings and roundelays of theirs which yet remain, were footed in Queen Mary's days on many a grassy plain. But since of late Elizabeth and later James came in, are never seen on any heath, as when the time hath been. It's some time since I heard that sung, but there's no good beating about the bush. This is Puck speaking. It's true. The people of the hills have all left. I saw them come into old England, and I saw them go. Giants, trolls, kelpies, brownies, goblins, imps, wood, tree mound, tree mound and water spirits, heath people, hill watchers, treasure guards, good people, little people, pashogues, leprechauns, night riders, pixies, nixies, gnomes, and the rest. Gone. All gone. I came into England with oak, ash and thorn, and when oak, ash and thorn are gone, I shall go too. Dan looked round the meadow, at Una's oak by the lower gate, at the line of ash trees that overhang Otter Pool, where the mill stream spills over when the mill does not need it, and at the gnarled old whitethorn, where 3 cows scratch their necks. It's all right, he said, and added, and this is Dan, I'm planting a lot of acorns this autumn too. Isn't that lovely? The children have, just by Puck's words, have already got to care for the environment, and they're thinking about the trees, and they're making sure the oak and ash and thorn are still there. Aren't you most awfully old? Said Una. Not old, fairly long-lived, as folk say hereabouts. Let me see. My friends used to set a dish of cream for me o' nights when Stonehenge was new. Yes, before the Flint men made the dew pond under Chanctonbury Ring. Una clasped her hands, cried, "Oh!" and nodded her head. She's thought of a plan, Dan explained. She always does like that when she thinks of a plan. I was thinking, suppose we saved some of our porridge and put it in the attic for you. They'd notice if we left it in the nursery. Schoolroom, said Dan quickly, and Una flushed because they'd made a solemn treaty that summer not to call the schoolroom the nursery any more. Bless your heart of gold, said Puck. You'll make a fine considering wench some market day. I really don't want you to put out a bowl for me, but if ever I need a bite, be sure I'll tell you. He stretched himself at length on the dry grass, and the children stretched out beside him, their bare legs waving happily in the air. They felt they could not be afraid of him, any more than of their particular friend old Hobden, the hedger. He did not bother them with the grown-up questions or laugh at the donkey's head, but lay and smiled to himself in the most sensible way. Have you a knife on you? He said at last. Dan handed over his big one-bladed outdoor knife. Those are the days when children could have knives, baby. And Puck began to carve out a piece of turf from the centre of the ring. What's that for? Magic, said Una, as he pressed up the square of chocolate loam that cut like so much cheese. One of my little magics, he answered, and cut another. You see, I can't let you into the hills because the people of the hills have gone. But if you care to take season from me, I may be able to show you something out of the common here on human earth. You certainly deserve it. What's taking season? Said Dan cautiously. It's an old custom the people had when they bought and sold land. They used to cut out a clod and hand it over to the buyer, and you weren't lawfully seized of your land. It didn't really belong to you till the other fellow had actually given you a piece of it, like this. And he held out the 2 turfs. But it's our own meadow, said Dan, drawing back. Are you going to magic it away? Puck laughed. I know it's your meadow, but there's a great deal more to it than you or your father ever guessed. Try. He turned his eyes on Una. I'll do it, she said. Dan followed her example at once. Now are you 2 lawfully seized and possessed of all old England, began Puck in a sing-song voice. By right of oak and ash and thorn. By right of oak and ash and thorn, you are free to come and go and look and know where I shall show, or best you please. You shall see what you shall see, and you shall hear what you shall hear, though it shall have happened 3,000 year, and you shall know neither doubt nor fear. Fast, hold fast all I give you. And there they are. They're given season of the whole of old England and all kinds of adventures before them. And you saw the significance of oak and ash and thorn. And Puck often says by oak and ash and thorn. So at the end of the first adventure, which is called Wayland's Sword, and actually involves the pagan god Wayland and a smith, Kipling gives you a tree song, and I'll finish by reading you that. As I say, there are also some lovely sung versions of it. And I'm happy to say that A Stone's Throw from this house, I can find oak and ash and thorn. So Puck is still with us somewhere. A tree song. Of all the trees that grow so fair, old England to adorn, greater are none beneath the sun than oak and ash and thorn. Sing oak and ash and thorn, good sirs, all of a midsummer morn. Surely we sing no little thing in oak and ash and thorn. Oak of the clay lived many a day or ever Aeneas began. Ash of the loam was a lady at home when Brute was an outlaw man. Thorn of the down saw new Troy town, from which was London born. Witness hereby the ancientry of oak and ash and thorn. Yew that is old in the churchyard mould, he breedeth a mighty bow. Alder for shoes do wise men choose, and beech for cups also. But when ye have killed, and your bowl is spilled, and your shoes are clean out worn, back ye must speed for all that ye need to oak and ash and thorn. Ellum she hateth mankind, and waiteth till every gust be laid, to drop a limb on the head of him that anyway trusts her shade. But whether a lad be sober or sad, or mellow with ale from the horn, he will take no wrong when he lieth along neath oak and ash and thorn. Oh, do not tell the priest our plight, or he would call it a sin, but we have been out in the woods all night, a conjuring summer in, and we bring you news by word of mouth, good news for cattle and corn. Now is the sun come up from the south with oak and ash and thorn. Sing oak and ash and thorn, good sirs, all of a midsummer morn. England shall bide till judgment tide by oak and ash and thorn. It's just a wonderful song. And even gently this, there's the allusion to the Aeneid, and this is the oaks are older than Virgil, and then Brutus, is, of course, was supposed to have come from Troy and founded Britain, according to Geoffrey of Monmouth in his history of British kings, a wonderful medieval sort of mythological history. And then you get this lovely advice about different trees and using alder for shoes and beech for cups, and a little bit of advice about not going to sleep under elm trees because they'll drop their branches. And then this lovely thing of conjuring summer in, delighting in the summer and bringing good news, gospel, good news to the cattle and corn. It's just a wonderful, wonderful song. And when I go on my walks, I sometimes have it singing away in my mind. On almost all my walks, one way or another, I do walk each day by oak and ash and thorn. Thanks be to God. Anyway, good to see you. Thanks for dropping round.